Hey, this is Steven from QBbox.com. Right now I'm talking with Tom Higgenson of Plain White Tees. What's going on, man?
Hey, how are you?
Doing good. So the newest album is Big Bad World, just came out. What do you think of the reaction to it so far?
Like, you mean the fan reaction or critic reaction or our reaction?
We'll go with a fan and critical reaction.
Okay. Well, I mean, as far as I know, everyone that's hearing it is actually been pretty stoked about it, and we've gotten overwhelmingly, good responses. Kids at shows, they all seem to know a bunch of the new songs, and especially like Natural Disaster and 1, 2, 3, 4, which are the songs that we've kind of put out there on our MySpace and everything. And so yeah, it seems like overall people are digging it. Excuse me. And critics surprisingly are, it seems like it's either really good or really bad. There's like no middle ground, which I think is kind of a good thing because, we don't really want to be normal. We try to do something a little bit different, and, I guess it's the kind of thing where critics are either loving it or hating it. So I don't know, but it's been mostly positive, so we're happy with that.
Well, for those who kind of gave you a little bit of critic backlash, did you expect that at all? Did you go into the recording process going, someone's going to end up hating this? Well,
no. I mean, I expect everyone to love it, to be honest with you, because it's like, it's like we put so much of our heart into it and, all the effort and everything. And it's like the things that the critics say when they're bad-mouthing it, it's like, BS. Like, it's not even right. It's not even true. It's like, I just, can't understand some of these idiots. Like, this one review in a hometown newspaper, a Chicago newspaper, which you'd think would have our back or, would be, want to support us. They were, like, making, like, personal digs at the band. It was almost like it was some guy we went to high school with that didn't like us or something writing a review. It was just, like, really poorly written, and it wasn't even anything about the album or about the songs. It was like, this band, you can tell that the rhythm section, didn't contribute at all on this album or something like that. And it's like, what are you talking about? Or like the band who brought, the international fluke or the fluke international hit, Hey There Delilah. Like, what? It was weird.
Yeah.
Very, I don't know, very bitter.
Yeah, well, it happens. So how do you think this record kind of musically captures the growth of the band throughout the years?
Captures what? I'm sorry?
The musical growth of the band throughout the years?
Well, I mean, I definitely think it's our most, musical album yet, like as far as just instrumentation parts-wise. We really went into it trying to make the music behind the song, behind the vocal, as interesting and important as the actual, vocals themselves. We wanted every song to kind of stand alone as like a musical piece as well as, with the, aside from the lyrics and the melody and everything. So we definitely put a lot of effort into that, into making the music great, which we've done somewhat before, but I don't know, before there was also a lot of, like on our first album, there was a lot of just bar chords, power chords underneath the song, and then we've tried to kind of incorporate more and more music, throughout the band's career, but on this album I think we really, did the most.
Cool. Yeah, I was listening to it. It's got this really retro sound to it. This sounds a little aged almost. How do you guys capture that sound?
Well, we tried to use a lot of old instruments and everything, like mostly gear from like before 1970. That was the goal, but it didn't always work out that way. Some old guitars just didn't sound good for the parts we were using them for. So, we had to kind of go with whatever it called for. We wanted it to sound great. So if a 99 guitar sounded better than a 1979, we went with the 99. But we also recorded it all live. Like all the basic tracks are just us playing in a room together, and then went back, overdubbed a few instruments, and then, I re-sang the vocals. But I think that definitely helps it feel a little bit older, a little bit more loose, a little bit more real. So yeah, it was all kind of, we had the idea to try to do that, but we didn't really know, it's kind of a risky thing to not use, we didn't use a click track for half the album, so more than half the album. And, we didn't use any auto-tune on the vocals or anything, and, it's kind of scary to think about, like, great, it's really up to us to make this sound good. We're not going to be able to fix anything, or, if I, sing a line wrong, I just have to sing it and sing it and sing it until I get it right, until it sounds good, So it was all on us. We relied on the band rather than on, computers and editing to make it sound good. But that's the way they used to do it, back when, people were making more of those classic records. We were looking towards bands like Tom Petty and U2 and the Beatles and the Beach Boys and, just all those classic bands that still sound great to this day, and their songs still, stand up. And, we kind of tried to figure out why that is, and that's what we thought.
Cool. I want to talk about the new single 1, 2, 3, 4. I was reading the credits on it, and it said that Jon Brion played the chamberlain. How did that opportunity come about?
Well, Jon Brion, the man, obviously, and we all, like a lot of his work. And our A&R guy had done some stuff, like he'd done a song with him in the past for some, I forget what it was, maybe like a Queen, something with Queen maybe, I don't even know. But he'd worked with him in the past is the point. And so he kind of mentioned, like, hey, I could probably talk to Jon Brion and see if he's interested in, doing something for one of your guys' songs. And we kind of added, every song on the album kind of has this little bit of a unique production to it. Like Big Bad World has a horn kind of section. Serious Mistake has a lot of strings and horns. And, it seemed like every song was kind of given this little musical treat except for 1, 2, 3, 4. That was just all stripped down acoustic guitars. We had some shakers and stuff like that going on. But it was really the most raw song that we had. So when it came down, it came time to talk to Jon, we let him hear that song because, like, well, this is the one that seems to need something, or, could use a little bit of ear candy, or, something extra. And he heard the song. He loved it. He took it into his studio for one night, about 3 hours, and came back with all this crazy sounding, music on top of it. And Johnny, our producer, just kind of edited through a little bit, kind of toned it down, made it bigger at certain places, just kind of moved some stuff around, and kind of it became the song it is now.
That's an interesting way it came about. It's a great song, too.
Thanks.
Not as surprised you guys went with it as the next single. But to keep it moving, I guess you get it a lot, but Hey There Delilah was, I guess, the biggest hit for the band, it has to be said. Did you feel any pressure this time around to top yourselves or kind of produce a hit like that to begin with?
Wait, are you saying right now, like, was there pressure?
Well, I mean, going into recording this new album.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had pressure from myself, It wasn't like a pressure coming at us from the label or from, fans, or it wasn't like that, like you have to deliver this or we're not putting out your record or your, whatever. But the band itself, I think, had pressure. Not pressure, but we were just really motivated. It was like, okay, we've been working at this for 10 years. We finally have some success. We're finally getting to that place where we always wanted to be. This is it. We have to make the best record of our career. We have to, show people that we're not just the Hey There Delilah band, that we can write great songs and we are a great band. And so that's what, we aim to do with this album. So yeah, I mean, there was some pressure, but it was good pressure.
Okay, so the question that has to follow that up is, do you feel like this album is your best album to date?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for me today. It was just going to be a quickie, so I really appreciate you coming back and doing it with me again.
Okay, take care.
All right, you too.